Those of you who've been following CarbonCrop for a while, something we often come across is that people sort of see us as we help you register your carbon forest, which is understandable because that's very much how we started out. Like if a farmer has some forest, we'll help use our platform to get you the carbon credits. What we're doing now is much more a platform and solution offering for a lot of different groups across the space. So there's a lot of different entities that use our platform now across the primary sector, consultants, large corporate farms, tiny little farms, carbon forestry consultants. They use it end to end across multiple different activities, and they're using it at a large range of scales, from sort of individual paddocks right up to regional level restoration initiatives. If we sort of take a high level view of a property like this, which I'd say is an example of what's probably quite a well-managed farm in terms of land use distribution, there's trees where it makes sense for there to be trees, there's native trees where it makes sense for there to be trees, and there's paddocks where it makes sense for there to be paddocks. There are a lot of obstacles or a lot of people who need to work together to achieve this outcome or a transition to this outcome. I won't run through all of these, but basically it's much broader than you might like. The landowner's usually keen because ultimately it's their land. They're going to need to have a significant say in what happens on it, perhaps the final say. But there are many others who are either creating the framework for them to make decisions or the incentive structures for their decisions, or supporting them in some stage of project planning, implementation, monitoring, ongoing support. And ideally, all of those groups can efficiently collaborate, not just across the groups, but across all of the stages of the project, which are perhaps more than you'd think coming out of it. But I'd say, if anything, this is an understatement of the number of steps that are usually involved in ongoing activity, planning, implementation, and deployment. And all of this stuff just continues to happen. It also happens at multiple scales. So you have like your one little wetland that you're planning on planting, and you could even go smaller scale, like an individual tree going into that. That exists in the context of your farm, which exists in the context of your catchment, which exists in the context of your region. All of these different stakeholders have a different perspective over which part of that scale is most interesting to them. And the challenge that we see, and despite the progress with digital tools, this is still widespread, is that a lot of these interactions occur via email, with people sending each other back and forth some combinations of spreadsheets, GIS files, and Word documents or PDFs, which capture the current status. And like, technically it's kind of digital because at least you're using GIS, but I'd say it's not maximizing the potential of digital. This is what you get when you ask ChatGPT to create a cliche political cartoon that shows how unmanaged complexity can limit the success of regional nature restoration projects. And so it did a bit of a half-assed job, but it's something that we see really often in portfolio level and regional level initiatives, is that complexity is actually, there can be an idea which works really well on paper in terms of like the incentives and the financing and the outcomes. And then when you actually try and put it into practice, it just gets bogged down or it falls over and you can't get people engaged. And it's usually, we've found, because of the challenges of all of these levels of coordination. We see CarbonCrop sitting at the middle of all of these groups. We're certainly not the only entity that we expect to sit there, but the goal is to help provide frameworks for efficient coordination and collaboration. I won't run through all of these features, but it covers a lot. A key point, though, is that it certainly doesn't cover everything, and we don't expect ours to be the only solution. More than anything, though, we're really just keen to break apart some of the silos that exist between digital tools and enable ecosystems of tools that can work together. We see ourselves as only a part of that ecosystem. We're extremely keen to operate effectively with others. Basically, the sort of flywheel that we see is, if you can unlock collaboration, you get more action, you get better economics, and that leads to more of the outcomes that we're all chasing. Systems deployed at scale across New Zealand. Please get in touch if you're interested in learning more. Thanks for your time.